Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and we are working on our third chalk drawing for our chemistry main lesson block. We don't usually do this many chalk drawings for a single main lesson block, but we are approaching this a little bit different this time. We are using new chalk as well. This is by Mercurius. This is their 16 color set of chalks. They are beautiful, but this one doesn't contain white and black, and I am going to pull from another set in order to do white and black. This is my little write-up of what I want my chalk drawing to look like. I did two little illustrations, and I actually wish I had done the beakers much smaller. They look a little bit too oversized for this chalk drawing, and it doesn't leave quite enough room for me to do a pH scale with the different colors and the different acids and bases on that scale. We're going to start with a little bit of text. So the pH scale, potential hydrogen. The pH scale measures how acidic or how basic a substance is. I'm also including that we're using red cabbage juice as an indicator for the demonstration that we used in order to measure different acids and bases, or to test them rather. And so this chalk drawing illustration represents the demonstration that we did. So the beakers, or the test tubes rather, and the different colors really represent the demonstration that we did. So here I am doing my little illustration that is far too big for the chalkboard. I wish that this was much smaller. Now you can do something similar, especially if you do the same demonstration. What I liked about this chalk drawing is adding something that was really colorful, but I wish that there was more content to the chalk drawing, because in our previous illustration on chemical and physical changes, the content that I had written up actually ended up being so useful for several of our lessons. We kept referring to that chart often in order to tell the difference between chemical and physical changes. For this one, I was hoping to have more content. So the pH scale measures how acidic or basic a substance is very informative, but the red cabbage juice as an indicator could have been replaced by some other sentences that would be more descriptive for this portion of our chemistry main lesson block. And using a smaller illustration for the test tubes might have been better as well, so that I could have added a little bit more content. On the side of the chalkboard where there's a little bit of a blank space there, we're going to include the different solutions that we tested, as well as the pH level of those different substances. I am using Mercurius chalks for, I think, the first time. Now, we've had Mercurius chalks before. I did test them out very briefly, but we've mostly used our Sargent Art square chalk pastels. I have to say that I was so pleasantly surprised at how smooth these chalks were. They glided on my chalkboard very easily, even though my chalkboard does need a little bit of attention. We need to sand it down and repaint it, but in the meantime, these chalks worked really well. I wanted them to be vibrant, and I was really pleasantly surprised at how vibrant they were. I thought my chalk pastels were the only chalks that were going to give me the vibrancy that I wanted. Now, this particular set doesn't come with black and white, and I am using my black and white from my Sargent Art square chalk pastels in order to do some shadowing and some highlights. So I added some black around each of the test tubes to kind of give it a little bit of space in this holder that it's in. And then I'm using white on the outside in order to mimic the test tubes that we currently have. They are by Pyrex and they are numbered 9800. So I added those little details, which are completely optional, but I think it's those details that really enhance the chalk drawing and make it something special. It was a little bit cumbersome to do all of that detailed writing, but I'm really glad that I did. The chalk drawing is almost done, but I take a step back to see how it's looking, and I realize that I want to add some more highlights as well as some shadows. These are completely optional, but I really think that they enhance the illustration. I also realized that the rims of my test tubes need to be larger, a little bit more defined, and I'm going to add that as well. In the meantime, I have labeled each of the test tubes so that I can write what each of those substances were on the side, as well as include the pH level of each of these substances. Once I'm done with the labeling, I'm going to add the pH levels off camera, but now I'm going to work on each of these test tube rims. Adding just a little bit more around the edges really enhances these test tubes and makes them look more authentic. I love this detail. I'm so glad that that I didn't miss this in the end. It really makes them look like test tubes. I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of them, and this is what it looks like when it's done. I really love how bright and vibrant and colorful this illustration is. It's really beautiful in our homeschool room. I go ahead and I add some of the materials that we're using for our chemistry demonstration below this chalk drawing so that all of our materials and test tubes and beakers are there ready for us to do any of our demonstrations. I hope that you enjoyed this chalk drawing. Don't forget to check out the blog post that accompanies this video for the other chalk drawings that we did for our chemistry main lesson block. You can also find the resources as well as other video tutorials for this main lesson block. You can find the link to that blog post in the description box below. And if you'd like to see how we're homeschooling on a daily basis, you can find me on Instagram and now on TikTok at Pepper and Pine.